everyone. My apologies, I'm trying to get the packet open. Here we go. All right, we're going to begin this meeting of the February Green Bay Public Art Commission, a virtual meeting. And let's start with roll call. Kelly Strickland, that's me. Alex Zacharias.
Here.
Lynn Gerlach.
Here.
Kent Hutchison.
Here.
And Chuck Yang.
Here.
Welcome, Chuck.
Thank you.
Liaisons, Beth Lemke.
Present.
Matt Vandenboomen.
Here.
Very good. Next item is approval of the agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for this meeting?
I motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any nays? Alrighty. It appears to me that passed with full approval. And approval of the minutes from the January 27th meeting.
Move to approve.
Any nays? Very good. Cheryl, you look like you're itching to say something.
So that was motion by Alder Gerlach. Was that second by you, Kent?
Sure. Yep, I second.
Okay.
Thank you.
Just want to get the motions for our trackers, our minute trackers.
Cheryl, did you get a haircut?
I did. I saw Kent and he inspired me.
It's cute. Get that in the minutes.
Hey, gotta get spring's coming up.
Sassy, springy. I love it. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Did you do your hair yourself too?
No.
The bathroom.
You use one of those, what were those called? Flowvacs? Kind of
Oh yeah.
attached it to the vacuum and, no?
I had the cheap version of that, I think.
All right, regular business. First item is consideration with possible action on the communication from Alderman Kathy Lefebvre to involve neighborhoods in the selected placement of artwork for the rotating art program. Laura, did you want to share information on that?
Yes, and I don't know if Kathy is with us. I know there's a phone call on here. She said she was going to try and join us this morning.
Yes, I am here. I had to call in. My computer would not open up Zoom for me.
Welcome.
Kathy.
So, previous council meeting, when we sent through our past meeting minutes with the rotating art program, Alder Lefebvre had requested that we look into involving neighborhoods in the selection and placement of our rotating art pieces, which I think is brilliant, and it should be part of the program. So I called Kathy, and we had discussed about simply reaching out to the neighborhood associations that those sites are located within, notifying the neighborhood associations so that anyone who's interested can join in these meetings when we are selecting those pieces and speak on their thoughts of what they'd like in their neighborhood. Is that about right, Kathy, or is there anything I'm missing?
Yes. No, you did a very good job. Very good job. And no, the only reason is that my neighborhood association, we got a beautiful piece. It was there, and now it's gone. We would like our palm tree back. It was a really a conversation piece, and everyone loved it. And that artist is very talented. But I did drive around, and I did see some different ones, and I think those are all part of the revolving art program, and some of them, I'm sorry, I don't want to say something bad about anybody, but I'm sorry, I would not like that in my neighborhood. And also the neighborhood association, yes, thanked me for bringing this forward because they would like to be involved in the picking. Hello?
Laura, what would you like us to, what is the motion we're putting forward here?
I think what we had listed on the agenda is to recommend updating the program guidelines to include neighborhood association notification of the GBPAC selection meetings.
Is there, does anyone want to have any conversation about this before a motion is put forth?
Just a quick question, please.
Yeah, Lynn.
Because I, like Alder LaFave, I'm also a member of the board of my neighborhood association. So I just want to be really clear about this. We would be notifying the neighborhood association, but there would not be any kind of approval required by the neighborhood association, right? If my neighborhood association doesn't like that piece of sculpture, that doesn't mean it doesn't go there. We just offer input. I just want to be real clear about the roles.
No, that's an excellent point, Lynn. I mean, I think the fact that the program is rotating, right, it's meant to expose communities to a variety of artists, and you're not living with anything forever. But I do think engaging the neighborhood and associations in the process just to let them know. And if there were multiple pieces going out, it's not like we would be opposed to the idea, right, of taking that input. How do people feel about that?
I think it's a great idea. And Lynn, I think you're correct in that assumption. They would be providing input and opinion, but they wouldn't have like a binding vote or anything like that that would affect the GBPAC's decision. But that input, I think, is valuable. And like you also, I'm on the my neighborhood association. We've actually hired artists to put up artwork within our neighborhood association and paid for the little footing through mini grants that are available through neighborhoods. So I think a connection between the neighborhood association and the GBPAC is a really great idea, so that we can just outline all the possibilities also through those communications, and just get more public art up. So yeah, thank you, Kathy, for bringing this to us. I'm definitely in favor of this amendment.
Can I make a comment?
Can I just follow up and say that I just want to make sure that the wording is clear and the intention is clear, so that we don't come along in the future and have somebody say, but my neighborhood association never agreed to that. Or, you know, the neighborhood association might very well say, oh, did you realize that floods every year? Maybe you better rethink where you're putting that, which would be good information. I just want to make sure it's clear what the roles are. That's all.
Duly noted, Lynn. Alderman, you had a comment?
Yeah, yes, and I assume that, you know, you have not just one artist for one area. You have the whole city that you're talking about. You got all, you know, these artists are submitting their plans in that, so that a neighborhood can say, well, you know, there's a couple there that we really like, and I would assume that you would kind of try to work with that neighborhood in choosing one of those to install installation. And then also, yeah, we do flood here once in a while. Nothing to look into. I hope not again. But yeah, you know, right, just involve, what I'm asking is involve the neighborhoods. And I mean, if they have, you're picking something and they really have an objection to it, I would think that you would, you know, look at that seriously and then maybe consider another piece. That's all we're asking for.
Yeah. So the spirit of the, go ahead, Cheryl.
So just, I think for the Alder's clarification, the way I see this working is, and it may vary depending how many artists you have. It may be one piece, it may be 4 pieces. So this PAC meeting to recommend an art piece may be for one neighborhood association, or and maybe 4 if we're putting 4 pieces up somewhere, right? But really what it is it's giving neighborhood associations the opportunity to comment to the PAC and make recommendations like, hey, we don't really like this, or we love this, whatever that is. The PAC is going to make that decision ultimately, and then ultimately the city council will, because the PAC reports out to the council. So I guess in the final analysis, the city council will either approve that report or not approve that report. So I hope we don't have, a whole lot of contentious pieces. I know there was that piece in Appleton, right? That was very contentious last year. So we'd want to make sure that if we were to do something, we'd want the neighborhood, to have input into that. But also, Alder Lefebvre, that's the cool thing about art. Sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it, but you're talking about it and it makes you think about different things. So we're probably not going to have 100% on any art piece ever from anybody.
I'm not against, different forms of art. It's some really, I'm sorry, really are bad. I'm sorry. And somebody can call it art if they want, that's fine. But, we take pride in our neighborhood, and where the installation is where you are basically coming in and you really see it. It's very prominent. Yep. That's why the palm tree, I wish we had money, we would have bought it and asked to keep it. That was really neat.
Kent?
So the other thing I wanted to bring up was we've shifted, correct me if I'm wrong, Laura, but we shifted around how we handle the public art or the rotating arts program. We're doing them all at once now. Is that correct?
That'll be the second agenda item if you guys approve it. But yes, the goal is to have all of those filled at the same time. But I guess that's not to say that we send out the call and we only get 4 applications, so we only have 4 to fill. Which then at that point, I think we would just keep pushing for those last 2 to get filled up as soon as possible.
So then it would kind of be an open invitation to what this might look like would be a communication to the neighborhood association that, we're going to be discussing the rotating arts program next month. And then we'll take comments. But if there's how many neighborhood associations, active ones, do we have, 20 something?
30s. It's in the 30s, I think.
30s? Okay. So, assuming that a lot of neighborhood associations show up and we have we're debating about 4 different pieces. I mean, I guess we'll just have to play it by ear, but we'll take comments, but we're not going to make everybody happy either.
I think that, Kent, just to clarify, if there are 4 pieces, it's going to be probably 4 neighborhoods that would be notified.
That's true. That's a good point.
It won't be all of them. It'll be the neighborhood where the art piece is going into.
Okay. So that makes more sense. Okay.
I guess that's part of my question is going through, I was looking at which neighborhood associations, and I believe one of them, the neighborhood association, is currently defunct. In that case, if a neighborhood association is defunct, do we want to spread that radius out to notifying the surrounding neighborhoods, or just at that point, there's not a body in charge, so we'll just move forward?
I think if a neighborhood association is inactive, I guess it's inactive. That would be a perk to maybe have them reform, get the neighbors together. And there are perks to having an active neighborhood association, and this is one of them, the notification. So otherwise, I don't know how you define that. I'm thinking of where the art pieces are now, how you define that radius.
That's kind of what I was assuming, but I didn't want to cut anyone out. So that sounds good though.
I have another question. Ours is open because the palm tree was taken down. And unfortunately, we lost it this Christmas. Last Christmas, I tried to get the news out here to take a picture. The park department, I found out, they put red garland hanging on it with red balls, and then they put flamingos around it. It was so unique. And so we missed it. But now it's open. How many spaces are open at this time?
Currently, there's 2 spaces open.
Okay.
Which.
But that doesn't mean that others might open up too. The
goal is, if you guys approve at the next agenda item to roll out the program. The goal would be to fill all 6 of those with new pieces this
Okay.
spring/summer.
Okay. Appreciate that.
And Alderman, you could be a wonderful ambassador for the rotating art program by going out and talking to your fellow council members about how important that piece is in your neighborhood so that we can continue to get sufficient funding to fill all of the pads for the rotating art program.
Yes. We were really surprised when it showed up, and we thought, wow, what is that? I even took pictures and sent it to my brother. In the winter, I went over there and sat in a chair with a drink and without my coat, just sitting there with the palm trees to my brother in North Carolina. So
That's amazing. Yeah. That's just what it's supposed to do. So, Ken.
I'll just make the motion to update the program guidelines based on the agenda item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? All right. Very good.
Can I had my shot yesterday and I woke up this morning with a headache. So I'm going to go off the call here, but I do, your next thing is talking about the rotating art, and I hope you do continue it. So
thank you.
So I'm just going to leave. Okay, thank you very much, everybody. Have a good day. Bye-bye.
Moving on to the second agenda item here and under regular business, consideration with possible action on the revival and update of the rotating art program. Laura, share with us your ideas.
So during our last meeting in January, we proposed to update the program, which was those previous updates, basically unifying the schedule of all 6 pedestals and having it roll out on a more consistent schedule. During that meeting, it was brought up that the insurance requirement was still definitely an issue for artists to take part in the program. So Cheryl was able to speak with legal, and we were able to fix it a little bit. There's still an insurance requirement in there, but that's only if the artist needs to use heavy equipment like a lift or some sort of lull to install or deinstall that. To have insurance to operate that equipment, or have someone that they know who is qualified and insured to operate that, or if all else, if they don't have access to that, the city can help provide a lift, but it'll be at a fee to the artist.
How do we feel about that? First of all, thank you, Cheryl, for advocating for us with legal.
So I think the bigger issue is the artist does not have to have insurance for the piece. It's really, they're going to sign a waiver. It's really more like a release. When you're installing the piece, you're going to hold the city harmless if anything happens to you. And then when you're taking it off, I think you're going to sign a release. So you don't have to carry insurance with regards to that piece. It's really the installation with the cherry picker.
Yeah, this is significantly more accessible now as written. So thank you, Cheryl, for doing all that work, and Laura for following up. This is much, much better from an artist perspective. It completely takes out that caveat of requirement for insurance, and unless you're going to be doing heavy equipment, but I don't anticipate that happening with these types of sculptures. So thank you.
Any further discussion before a motion is put forth or Laura, do we need to talk about more than the insurance requirement? Chuck?
I guess, Chuck, you can go.
I just have a general question, I guess, in regards to the insurance and hold harmless agreement. Does that say after the artist has installed the piece, the hold harmless agreement would also would release the city from any liability should the piece fall over and hurt somebody? In case it's a poor installation or something like that.
I think it was, isn't that the insurance that the PAC pays for?
Yeah.
So there's
that's
insurance that the PAC pays for to cover that instance. The concern was more so the artist being injured upon installation or removal.
Okay. Yeah,
So
I just
this
wasn't aware of what's all entailed.
Yep.
The only other things I guess I would bring up that were updated, aside from unifying the schedule and the insurance portion, I updated the timeline since we bumped it back a month. And that's the project timeline. Those dates are somewhat fluid, but I would hope to get that call out March 1st at the latest, so we can start getting these pieces, start getting artists to apply, and hopefully get pieces out in the neighborhoods in June.
So
Fantastic. Any other questions? Oh, Alex.
I was just going to motion.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any dissent? Very good. We have been very productive already this morning. Moving on to the informational section of the agenda, open discussion on GBPAC recommendations for CDBG funded arts activities for this year.
During our last meeting, we briefly spoke about block grant funds again. And I think during the last meeting, we had helped push Krista's public meeting on block grant funds. And I saw a few of your faces at that meeting to speak on the arts. So thank you. But now what I'm hoping for is for us to brainstorm. Your ideas and recommendations are going to go back to city staff and the neighborhoods team. We're going to combine your ideas with the community input we received, and then also kind of mash it all together with other city department projects that are going on through parks and DPW, and just try and create the most impactful and applicable projects. Krista, our block grant guru, unfortunately was not able to join us, so I cannot definitely say yay or nay to the ideas you present, but I'm going to be taking notes as you guys kind of spew out these golden strands of wisdom, and we will take those back to Krista to sort through and divvy out what actually can be applied and what can't.
Laura, can you confirm that the amount of funds, the restricted funds for the rotating art program, is at this point not sufficient to fill all of the pads?
Correct.
Is that true?
Correct.
So one thought I had, just for discussion's sake, was because several of our pads are in qualifying neighborhoods. One suggestion I had was to use the CDBG funds to supplement those rotating arts program funds, and really do it right. Get as many of the pads filled as we can, using the block grant funds in the neighborhoods for which they qualify. I think that with this new schedule of installing all new pieces at the same time, you have sort of more of a kind of a larger impact story, and that we could get some media attention for this program, dusting it off and hitting a lot of neighborhoods all at the same time. I can imagine sort of, moving press conferences or simultaneous press conferences, something to bring attention to the program. That was my only thought on this topic. Others?
I'll give you my 2 cents. Also, I thought that supplementing the rotating arts program was going to be a priority, so I'm happy you brought that up, Kelly. I'd definitely be in favor of doing that. I've been speaking with a few groups in the area, and I mentioned this at the meeting with Krista, that, and I know that the Cdbg offers money to, and I don't know if it's outside of the money that's allocated specifically for arts, but it's educational programs. That's one thing that I didn't really get clarified at the meeting, but educational programs in regard to facilitating murals and public artwork, I think is really important, especially for underrepresented people in our communities in Green Bay. So I know that there's a few programs being developed right now that would target that bit of underrepresentation and provide opportunities to communities that are educational, but that would also facilitate in creating public artwork. So that's some place that I'd really like to see developed from the GBPAC's perspective with these dollars.
Would you see this being, I only ask because I see Sally's on the call, and Sally and I have kind of been brainstorming ideas too. But talking about that educational component with also creating artwork, Sally and I were kind of tossing around an idea of a mural festival, a mini mural festival where a certain weekend we have all of our artists lined up, and that weekend these artists go out to their sites and they make their murals happen. But then alongside that, we had also talked about having, gosh, I totally blanked, mural like assistants or artists who the actual muralist who's creating the work can kind of take under their wing. And while they're creating that piece, these assistants, I'm just going to say that because my brain is really blanking on the word I want. These assistants can really shadow this artist and learn about the process of public art and really just kind of pick their brain while also helping that artist make that mural. Is that kind of along that same idea you're thinking of as far as combining education with creation of artwork, or am I way off?
Like a mentorship program.
That's the word.
Yeah, I think that would be part of the program. But I think in some areas there's a lot of work to do before even a mentorship program is even established. So yes, then there is a component of mentorship in the programs that I see being developed. But it's more in this, the entity or the directives that I'm looking at are more in really fostering new artists to understand and to be able to apply their skills to public artwork. The communication that is not being done there is important, and that's a step that needs to come before I think the mentorship program. But I do think it rests within the GBPAC's purview to tackle that issue. But I do think also that what you're talking about with Sally is important and interesting as well. Those types of mural festivals usually get a lot of coverage in other communities. I know that Madison does one every other year. But they get outside dollars. So that's something we need to look at. Murals are expensive, and if we're doing a bunch of them at once, we definitely don't want to cut on the square footage dollar amount that these artists are getting. So if we're going to be doing that, we've got to have a lot of funding for it. And something that we can do is work with a spray paint company to facilitate that, because they offer these programs to communities. So we can look into those opportunities as well. But this could be something that the GBPAC could help sponsor and promote. But the dollars would need to come from outside, I think, for something that big.
For clarification's purpose, when we're talking about these mentor programs, community engagement programs, application programs, all the words that we've been using, we're not actually talking about the city running that program, right? We're just talking about funding another organization that is running a program.
Correct. And that would be the Cdbg dollars, I think is what what I'm thinking.
I understand that those are the dollars. I'm talking about who's actually running this program, right? So we have people in our community who have experience doing this. For instance, Alex at the Boys and Girls Club has hands-on life experience running these programs. I guess I just want to be clear, we're not actually talking about starting a program. We're talking about funding programs that are being developed by other organizations. Thank you. I just wanted to.
A way that I could see it is the NWTC Artisan Center. They do video. They used to have actual in-person kind of workshops as far as workshops for artists, how to budget, how to market yourself. And we actually had talked with, Sally and I had talked with Carrie about brainstorming some ideas about kind of edutainment videos on how to go about looking at a call for art, how to apply for these things, having how-to videos for artists specifically geared like art. So I definitely think, like Kelly said, there are organizations within the community that could probably take a handle on it, but not, I don't see this coming from the city as a program.
Other thoughts about the utilization of the CDBG funds?
Cheryl, since this is an informational item, are we still able to open the floor? I don't want to put Sally on the spot, but I've mentioned her a lot and I want to make sure.
Always open the floor. Yep.
Okay.
Oh,
Sorry, I put you on the spot, Sally.
Can I have a motion to open the floor? Is that what you're doing, Kent, while I'm talking over you?
Yes, that's what I was doing. Motion to open the floor.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any dissent? Hi, welcome. Sally, can you state your name and address for us?
Sure. Sally Ebling, 130 East Walnut Street. Mostly speaking on behalf of downtown and Old Main. And yeah, Laura and I have had a lot of conversations about the educational aspect, the mentorship. Love what Alex did with Boys and Girls Club and the mural, the look. Thought that was fantastic, and just really wanted to be able to get kids and people who want to do art but don't know how to start. And you're right, there are a lot of great organizations in the community that are doing those things. And so what Laura and I wanted to do was partner more with those organizations, and get everyone's name on it so that we can reach a wider audience with that. So that was definitely one of our big things, was how do we get more art in the community and also be able to have those educational mentorship programs and make sure we're getting the right people involved in the community.
Any questions for Sally?
So Laura, it was my understanding though that these block grant dollars cannot be spent on programming, correct? Like staffing and programming, because that would fall under the public service portion of our block grant dollars. So the 27,000, if there were a program already set up, it may be able to fund the materials for it potentially, or maybe an artist stipend or those types of things. But I don't think we could not fund the actual program itself.
Correct.
That it just falls under different block grant rules under public service, and this is not public service money. This is like, I want to say bricks and mortar kind of dollars, right?
It's definitely that very project focused. So
right.
That's a good thing to point out, is that if we are looking at these types of things, our funds, it's good to talk about partnerships then, because we could help carry the load for, like you said, like the artist stipend and the actual creation of that mural and the supplies for it. But if you're going to be paying that artist as an instructor for their time, that would need to come from somewhere else, just because that is that public service component that we unfortunately can't use these dollars for.
Well, but we certainly can take that to note when we're setting up block grant for next year, though, right?
Exactly.
For public service programs that deal with art.
So, point of clarification, I was wondering if, so it does not actually, these dollars wouldn't actually facilitate in an educational component. Is that what you're saying, Cheryl? Like, because that would be like paying somebody to facilitate in that educational component.
I feel like it all depends on how it's set up.
Okay.
Right? And how it's funded. So these are great ideas. And I think it's a matter of us just talking with Krista probably to figure out
Right.
like how we can get to the final place we want to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it sounds like there's a need for
that.
what Sally and I are talking about, but like if it's not, and maybe those, so I don't know of any other ways to apply for CDBG dollars. So maybe that's something I have to figure out is, do you apply through those dollars through a different department of the city, or is that like?
You don't really apply for the dollars until the programs are set up, until the things are defined and how, so then, and then it's usually an RFP or we set it up that way. So it's really not an application process until
I got it.
So if we were to, let's say, if we were to set up a program, an arts program in public service, like for next year, then we'd probably figure out what kind of program we want that to be, and we'd RFP it. We'd say, these are the elements we're expecting, educational, children, whatever. And then we'd send out an RFP. People would make proposals. And
would that come out of economic and development?
No. Well, I don't know. What do you mean?
Like out of Green Bay, like where would that RFP be coming from? I'm just trying to get a framework of how these dollars are allocated.
So our department, Community and Economic Development, administers the block grant and home dollars.
Okay.
So we would be facilitating that RFP. It would come out of purchasing, but it'd come back to the department and how that would work.
Okay. Yep. That clears things up. Thank you.
All right. Are there any other thoughts or ideas we want to contribute to this conversation before we
You need to close the floor.
I
thought Laura, go ahead, Alex.
No, go ahead, Matt.
I thought Laura's idea of the Mural Festival, I was trying to think of, was that in 2018? I forget what thing that was, but it was in September, and a couple murals went up on the north side of Broadway. Was that what that?
That was Better Block combined with Hopeland.
Okay. I thought, doing something like a mural festival, and then it'd be great to do that the same weekend that the rotating arts program gets installed, and then we kind of get that big exposure event, and say something like wherever we pick those murals to be, that we could work in the neighborhood association with that, and we can get the mentees from those recommendations, and then we can work in where we have an artist, and then they have the mentees that are from that neighborhood that are aspiring artists, or high school kids, middle school kids, and they help make that mural in their own community. I think the synergy between all of those things would be really strong.
I just wanted to add, hi, Sally. When we had a little issue with the moving art piece that we did, and ultimately it was related to not having a permit of some sort. Just something to consider. The Downtown Green Bay Association were very supportive, but then at the end, because of a complaint, it had to be moved. So just to keep in mind that there's this permit issue, and I'm not sure how to approach that or talk about that. Or
I don't think it was a permit, Alex. I think it was placed on redevelopment authority property without approval, without prior approval. And it was based on a complaint. So I think our law department's like, you know what, we don't really have this officially approved, so let's just move it. But I do think that I can say that if you put art on private property, we don't run into some of these issues when it's on public property. So, if you've got business owners or folks that are willing to place art on their sites, it takes away that element sometimes of controversy that can come up from it, but
I was just going to say, our permit for the downtown dining room did not include public art in it. And if we had in the beginning included that, we wouldn't have run into that problem.
I would echo, I mean, I love Matt's idea of maximum impact. I think, especially when you're dealing with limited resources, like the idea of getting as much bang for your buck as you can in terms of generating awareness and hopefully fueling future support of the commission's work. And Laura will know this better than anyone, but I'm sure Cheryl would give her good guidance about just capacity because we're working with a staff of one here. So, but maybe with all those fantastically engaged partners, it's very doable. Anything else for Sally while anything you would like to contribute? All right.
Motion to close the floor?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any dissent? Sally, thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, Sally.
All right. If there are no further comments on the recommendations or for CDBG funded arts activities, going once, going twice. Laura, anything you want to say in closing before we move on?
Just thank you for the ideas. I think there's a way that we can work to combine these. My brain is already thinking about ways that we could do this on a small but feasible scale, maybe partnering with like parks and having these murals placed on our park shelters or things like that, where we can get the kids in the neighborhood directly involved in improving and making art in their park. So I think these are definitely good ideas to share with Krista and see what she says. And like Cheryl said, it's really how we set that up as far as payment to artists and things like that. So
well, and we're still in a pandemic, so it depends on what where parks sits on opening parks and the ability to gather and those types of things this year as well. So that'll come into play a little bit.
Exactly. So thank you very much for all of your input.
Excellent. Moving on to item 2 under the informational section of our agenda, Gbpac financial report. Is that you, Laura?
It's partly me, but also Stephanie, our gatekeeper, is on the call as well, so she can help assist if I fumble. This is the updated report that we have. There's 2 items highlighted, basically our block grant funds, which is that $27,000 that we just were brainstorming on. We have some ideas from you, so we're going to hope to put some recommendations together for RDA by April, because we need to have those dollars out the door by November. And then additionally is our Friends account, those unallocated dollars from our Friends group. Oh yeah, and sorry, the big National Endowment grant that we got. That's a new addition. I couldn't tell you guys until now. Stephanie, am I forgetting anything, or is there anything else I should be pointing out? Or does anyone have any questions?
No, the only thing that came through was you did have to pay for your insurance, which went up this year.
Yep.
Laura, is this an appropriate time for you to talk a little bit about the utilization of those NEA funds, or is that?
It was in my coordinator's report. So
okay, great. All right. Any other prescient or time sensitive or questions about our financial report, which it does not sound like it's changed dramatically since the last time we looked at it?
Nope. like Steffi said, we paid out the insurance, which that went up a bit. And the NEA grant has been added on there.
We did reformat it though, to make it a little bit easier to understand.
Are we supposed to be able to see something right now?
Did you want me to pull it up so you guys can see it?
Oh, no. I just wasn't sure. It's in our board pack, yes?
Yep.
Yes. I wanted to
Page
make sure
17.
that, you know, with our block grant funding is just screwy how the federal government works it. They allocate it, it's a year behind. So when you try to figure out when you need to spend money, it's like, well, is that next year's money or last year's money, whatever. So if you look at the report, like we've highlighted here, this is unallocated. We need to we need recommendations by April. So you have kind of a clear understanding of like where you are with the money. You can look at the rotating arts. You can see if you want to do rotating arts, we're going to need to come up with about $6,000 if we want to do all the pieces from somewhere, whether we want to use block grant or Friends money. That Friends account, right? That tells you how much the balance is in there. So it's just easier, I think, for you as board members to go through there and go, okay, this is where we sit with our cash.
I have a question about that, Cheryl.
Yep.
So we definitely we've identified that we want to allocate dollars to supplement our rotating arts program. So that's out of it. And then for the remaining dollars, if we establish like we want to spend it, let's say on a sculpture like we did last time, the remaining dollars on a sculpture. So we've allocated it towards a project. Is that a good enough, or do we actually have to have that money out the door?
Well, for block grant, it needs to be, I believe I think the check has to be drawn.
Okay.
You need to have that done and the check's in the mail.
Okay. So
we always pressure Public Works, right, and Parks to get like money out the door, right, on these projects, on other block grant projects. But yeah.
So recommendations by April, and that dollars need to be spent by what date?
November 1st.
Well, it's November 1st, I believe.
Okay.
So Krista likes us to say October 1st. So we have that month of something good. And we have it spent by October 1st. The sooner the better. So if we can spend them this summer, that would be great.
Yeah.
Too bad. We already know it's November 1st. She can't trick us.
I know.
Okay. Yeah, I guess, should this be we could talk about it down the road or maybe outside of this meeting, but then Laura, we had the recommendations talk today. Do we want to come up with an agenda item to actually identify a program, or does that make sense? What would be best?
As far as for those block grant dollars, or?
Yeah, to recommend, because there's going to be $21,390 left over after we allocate those dollars for the rotating arts program.
I think Laura has to take them back to the block grant folks.
We have to take them back to Krista because we have to see if we can even use block grant funds for the rotating art program to supplement that. But yeah, if that is approved, like you said, there's going to be roughly like 21,000 left over, which I then I'm assuming that I would use that 21,000 and apply it to the ideas that you guys gave me today, as far as community engagement and engaging those kids and.
Right.
So can we expect this as a timeline? So you're going to go back to Krista, talk about the 27 grand. It sounds to me like we have consensus that coming up with the additional 6,000 for the rotating art program is a good utilization of those funds. Talk about how you're going to use the balance. And then I think at that point would be the time that we would talk strategy about the when and the if of engaging any of that Friends money for, or letting it roll for something larger. And I would take this opportunity to echo something that I'm a little bit of a broken record about, but I would really love to have kind of a running list of projects that we've talked about. I feel like we talk informally in this way during the informational sessions. And then whenever it comes time to make determinations, I'm not sure we have a really good strong hold on these ideas. They haven't really been captured anywhere, because I think that would be helpful if, if we're thinking something that's a priority and is going to take $100,000, we know that we're just going to keep that Friends money in the pocket and keep trying to grow it and wait for this big opportunity. Or are we going to kind of nickel and dime it for the grants program? I think it would be great just to have a little bit of a roadmap moving forward. That's my 2 cents on the financial report.
Kelly, I actually think that that's probably a topic for the PAC to discuss. A separate agenda item at some point is that 21,000 of Friends. Do you want to spend that, or do you want to? I mean, the goal is to raise more money, right? So we're trying to get more money into that account. So, is the board comfortable with spending that down, or do you want to hold that? Right. That's a discussion you probably should have as a board, because the money is sitting there right now. So. And right now, I don't know, are you guys doing your grants? Don't you have like mini grants that people can apply for 1,000 or 1,500?
We do.
The annual grant?
The annual
program?
grant? Are you doing that anymore? Probably not, right?
We had suspended the program back in last March or April, and we had discussed reopening it here, especially now that we know more about working in the outdoors. So I do think that is something that we should discuss. And if it's okay with the rest of the commission, my suggestion would be to wait and hear what we hear back about the block grant fund, so we have real clarity on where that money is going and what ideas are being picked up and executed. And then in March, when we have that information, Laura, maybe you add an item about that Friends money. From a fundraising perspective, I can say that, fundraising is always easier when you're presenting a really exciting, bold vision for something. And, we do have some programs to be proud of, but that kind of goes back to that strategy. What are the things that have come up in our conversations? Have we captured them? So we're not just kind of going around in circles.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think it'd be good. Like, I think what you were maybe trying to get at, Kelly, is making like a menu board where we maybe like come up with our ideas, have a list of our ideas, and attach some sort of number to how much it would cost for the execution of one of those ideas. So that when we look at the financial report, we can get an idea. We can get an idea of what's actually obtainable with what we have left.
Yeah. Yeah. And then as those donors are identified, it's so much easier to say, like, we only need $30,000 more to do this amazing thing. Don't you want to chip in that $30,000 to get us there? As opposed to kind of talking in generalities.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else on the financial report? All right. Moving on to report and project updates.
For my report, we were able to install the Old North sculpture. Unfortunately, the unveiling got crashed by the mega snowstorm. So we have postponed that, and we are talking about some dates in spring when it will be nice outside. There will actually be dandelions out there, and looking at partnering with Sustainability Commission to maybe see if they're interested in sharing what they do and helping share sustainability, the importance of pollinators in our community with that. So I will keep you updated as we learn more about unveiling plans for that. But it is in, so if you want to go over and check it out, it looks really sweet. The Adam Street jellyfish, I meet with Brandon weekly. He is chugging along on the fabrication of it. He had to assemble it and then disassemble it to make sure that he could move it, and also to add in wiring and other components, and is now painting portions of it. and they are working on the engineering of the legs, which are these real funky Star Wars at looking things, but it definitely looks really impressive. And I talked with Kelly. We are still looking at installation to occur most likely between like the 17th and the 21st of March, with a kind of lighting celebration to occur after that, either like the 22nd or the 23rd. But those are very much flexible dates at this point. It's a moving target, but that project is moving along, and I'm very excited about it. And also, as mentioned before, the NEA grant for the Shipyard Underpass Placemaking Project. For those who don't know, we received $10,000 for Shipyard Underpass Placemaking Project, which is focusing on the Mason Street Underpass, which is right next to where the shipyard is going to be, and it's actually going to function as parking for the shipyard. Right now, it looks just like an underpass. So the proposal that we had pitched for the grant was to really brighten up that space and make it welcoming for the community through murals or sculpture, lighting, enhancements of
It's dark under there.
Exactly. So focusing on creative enhancements to this area that the neighborhood and the residents surrounding that area can have input on. So if anyone has any questions, let me know.
How do we?
I want to, go ahead, Matt, sorry.
How do we find the announcements of like the Old North sculpture, whatever kickoff party, and then the Salvagelli bloom?
So those will be released on the city's news flash. If you go on the city website, you can subscribe to news flash, which is basically the city's overall press release pusher outer, and you can actually select what news flashes you're interested in. Ours would be under community and economic development.
Laura, I think the PAC should get an email, should get a copy of those press releases via email. I would recommend that. We do that for other boards. So you'd get you'd know exactly when it is. You'd get if we do the press release, we just send the email blurb to the PAC. So they've got that.
I guess that's my bad. I thought you guys were already subscribed to Newsflash, but I will send out the email.
Sometimes it's just easier, right?
So is that the main way the public finds out about these too?
We send them out through Newsflash and then also post on our Facebook page, on the Community and Economic Development page, which then generally it'll get picked up by the overall city's Facebook page, sometimes the mayor's Facebook page, but that's generally how we push those out.
How successful have we been at getting media hits on our press releases?
I have about, I'd say, average of 2 to 3 that reach out, not only for press, not randomly, but we've been in discussions lately. It's the Press Times and, gosh.
Well, I think that press release, Laura, goes out to all the media, right? Goes out to radio, TV, print. But it all depends on what the Packers are doing that week, right? Everything's contingent on what's the hottest item happening. So
I have no idea what you're talking about, Cheryl.
Depends what Aaron Rodgers is doing. Is he getting married? That's going to probably trump us.
That's why we should never do anything between August and January. I just wanted to quickly say a big congratulations to Laura and Cheryl and whoever supported her in the writing of the NEA grant. I think that is it's a real rite of passage for an arts entity to receive that funding. It's incredibly competitive. It's a real stamp of approval on the level of professionalism that the commission has obtained. we show up on a cultural vitality index put out by Data Arts, and the receipt of federal funds actually is a huge boost to our score. So our Greater Green Bay had only received one NEA grant over the past maybe 12 or 15 years. And with this receipt and the Widener's receipt in one calendar year, our score like skyrocketed. So it's really great for, in conversations that we were having with the chamber about what cultural vitality means in our region. So I know those applications are a pain in the ass, and excuse my language. And sometimes the size of the award doesn't feel comparable to the amount of work, but what it means in terms of imprimatur kind of support it's really important. So congratulations to you guys.
Thank you. You're right. It definitely is a lot of work, and I had an amazing team to assist. So, and we're not done. I mean, it's just beginning. So thank you. But it's the bigger picture. Like you said, it's impacting in a wider range. I'm excited.
All right, Laura, anything else on the coordinators report, project updates, or questions for Laura from the commission? All right. Our next meeting is March 24th. And if there's nothing else, we can take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any dissent? What's up, guys?
Thank you.
See y'all.
Bye.
The screen won't turn back on.